Warning, I don't hate you, Goji Central, but you have to learn this. You, spoiler warning, are making merch off Disney's carnotaurus. And trust me, Disney don't play with you using the characters. Yeah, it's a legal carnotaurus, but we all know what it's based off. And a school had to pay at Mickey and Minnie, and they got sued. So trust me, Goji Sarah, you need to stop using characters you don't own. Cause like, if I had a shirt with your IC on it, you'd probably sue me, saying, "Oh, you're still my character." Well, imagine how these companies feel. You're still their character. I wanted to make Godzilla merch, but I want to be unique and made them more humanized to be unique. So yeah, please don't think I hate you, Goji Sir. I'm just saying because I know Disney.
Today, the alleged most dangerous island in Jurassic will be invaded by saurian horned killers. Debuting more than a quarter century ago in cinemas, we welcome back Disney's Carnotaur pair. The oversized, terrible twosome from the Mouse House will be put up against the monumental task of surviving, or perhaps taking over St. Hubert, the newest and allegedly the most dangerous island in the franchise. Can these two excel or go extinct again? Today on Goji Center, we'll study these carnotaurs excel or go extinct.
That's actually really cool how he grabs him by the throat. One thing we don't canonically know about...
It's going to look very different, believe it or not. First off, let's determine if yours excel or go extinct again.
One thing we don't
today on Goji
canonically know about these two carnotauruses are if they're brother and sister, son and father, mother and sister. The carnotauruses, and my biggest hatred is they don't talk. They have no personality. The vegetarian dinosaurs talk, but no predators. It's like a real dinosaur, they treat them so monstrously. But I have a question for you. In the Land Before Time, I meet Little Chop, a baby T-Rex. So, when he starts to get older, will he just be like, "Fuck you, Little Chop, leave"? Or would they even care? Like, they have so many years of becoming friends, or would they just be like, "Fuck off," Like, nature is cruel sometimes, you know what I mean?
Center will study these carnotaurs in detail, studying their anatomies, behaviors, and combat prowess to determine if they have what it takes to make it out alive or perish. First off, let's establish some info about what it is we are about to unleash. Believe it or not, what you saw in the film as the...
I actually have this DVD. I still haven't watched it yet. James is thinking of doing Anna Month. I'm thinking of doing Dino Month.
Main antagonists were actually going to look very different, but there's a reason they look like this, and this massive. So earlier concepts for the movie that morphed into Disney's 2000 film Dinosaur had been brewing for many years before production and had some connective tissue as far as the 1980s with Jurassic Park's Phil Tippett making the short film Prehistoric Beast. Early drafts of the movie Dinosaur had Tyrannosaurus...
Right, so it came out in 2000, so it's half a century, so it's only 25 years old.
Rex as the big scary antagonist. However, since there were already two successful Jurassic Park films featuring T-Rex, and another one literally about to be released a year after, some changes had to be made to set...
Yeah, I respect those by the Carnotaurus, because in my opinion, one of my least favorite things about dinosaur media is that they obsessed with T-Rex. I should go.
You should stay.
Okay, I do have to ask this.
Apart. So, in response, Carnotaurus was brought up as a promising alternative.
What dinosaur villain would you go with? You can't pick T-Rex. What one would you go with? It has to be a Saurus. No, it has to be a predator. Which one are you picking?
Let's go Allosaurus, a prey animal.
It has to be a predator.
Fine. I'm not good with dinosaurs, man. The sport a little bit here. There's a new Baldi's Basics multiplayer game.
You have no idea.
No,
I think maybe a Pachyosaurus.
But there was a problem.
I know. What's that, like, species that's close to a T-Rex, but isn't a T-Rex?
The Humongicon? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, that one.
You should leave.
The real-life species, Carnotaurus sastre, was actually a lightweight speedster compared to other large theropods, and even smaller than the 5-ton Iguanodon protagonist. The final product was an amped-up gestalt of the real-life Carnotaurus and Tyrannosaurus. So, the creatures we saw terrorizing the film and Animal Kingdom theme park attraction was a fictional species, a juggernaut of a meat-eating bull far larger than its real-life cousin, Carnotaurus robustus. And where did this fictional species hail from? The characters in the movie reference them typically as coming from the south, and the debatably canon theme park attraction, Countdown to Extinction, tells us exactly where. The Looney Land, the crazy place, where only the most insane humans, like some of our very own staff, and truly bizarre beasts would call home. The land where you can't go a week without some kind of crazy newspaper headline? Florida. Indeed.
Oh no!
The full name for this species, given by the faux skeleton on display at Animal Kingdom, is Carnotaurus robustus floridana. Now, is this necessarily canonical to the films, especially in light of Florida being predominantly underwater in our own Mesozoic? Debatable. But today, we'll think of it as having our saurian equivalent of Florida Man on steroids being turned loose on the island of St. Hubert. We're just gonna roll with it. Alright folks, let's bring these meat addicts into the analysis platform, study them for a bit before we unleash them to the island. At least 2 Carnotaurus became living nightmares for the mass herd of migrating herbivores, so...
They are really strong. They spent like thousands of days in the desert with no water. That's pretty impressive.
A scenario, we will be using both of them. The sheer terror they could inflict was evident in how everything from well-armored ankylosaurs, herds of formidable ceratopsians, to the most jacked iguanodon in the film were utterly terrified of the duo. Comparing the two on-screen with each other, it does become clear one of them is noticeably smaller, even if this fella is still quite enormous. Figuring exactly how big they're supposed to be is tricky. The problem with CGI creatures morphing in size from one shot to the other is also present in this film, like in Jurassic World, though thankfully not as extreme as in Rebirth. There was some tie-in merch and DVD extras listing a potential size for the species. The pose is a bit difficult to use because it's not a flat horizontal shot of the whole body, like what is used in most size charts. And this size chart doesn't specify which Carno from the movie we are looking at. So, we had to bust out the measuring tapes for this one. And it's still a bit confusing. There's a lot of information, theories, and opinions circling the web about who was who in the finale. So, this Carno in the beginning of the film is said to be the one at the end. Or it could be a completely different one. That is because in other deleted scenes, there were actually 3 Carnos. And the book implying that there could have been other Carnos apart from the 2 that were in this cave. It's a whole mess.
It's just a bunch of carnotauruses. They're all like mobsters. Hey, you think you can mess with one of us? You mess with all of us, capiche? We got a wise dinosaur here. I guess we got a wise going here, don't we?
So stick with us, because getting a good reliable size for these theropods is important in determining how they're going to fare in St. Hubert. It's a widespread belief that the carnotaurs seen in this scene and in the intro were the same ones. However, some of these shots are not lining up. Pachyrhinosaurus, according to the official merch, was stated to be 10 feet at the frill. Alidar, 15 at the top of the head. Here, the Carno towers over the Pachy at possibly around 25 feet. And that's not even accounting for the Carno being further away from the camera, meaning that it could have been a bit taller. This one at the end of the movie seems to be smaller, one who allegedly was the big one, making us initially believe that this fella was the smaller of the 2 that survived the cave collapse in the movie.
Imagine being able to build anything, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
I do feel slightly sorry for
Other
him.
shots in the final act,
It's
however,
basically
do
like
a little bit
a
with
sibling or a friend or a father or a mother. We don't know. But it's basically losing someone you care about. No wonder we're angry. You know, you feel bad for him.
also being a bigger Carno. And since fact, however, do line up a little better with also being a bigger Carno. And since there is no real official confirmation in any tie-in media, film, or novel that this guy was the
Wow, that's a lot of
real official confirmation in any tie-in media, film, or novel.
You know, you could tell he really loved to fill in over a main Look. Fill in, main character. What is this, a fucking Far Cry game? Why is Clefairy more iconic than the hero? I think this might be the Far Cry of dinosaur media. Why is this a Far Cry game? Look, villain. Right, let me start again. Villain, protagonist. What is this, fucking Far Cry? Do you love using the villain over the protagonist in the media?
So we have Far Cry 3, 4, 1, and 5.
You know, they love using the villain over the primal. They love using the villain, huh?
This guy was the big one.
I believe it was the little brother, or little friend, or little mother. That's why I love all these
Say hello to my little friend.
That's why I love all the carnotauruses. They have nothing. They could be women for all we know. It reminds me of that toy. You know, it said, "How dare you? I could be a transgender bisexual woman for all you know." You know that toy from that parody of Toy Story. That reminds me of these carnotauruses. They could be independent. They could be independent women that don't need no man. For all we know, like we'll never really know because the creators just don't want to give them any personality. Because you know,
Predator bats.
Yeah, and Prey are always good and have never done anything wrong and never hurt any innocent people. Sure, let's go, Black Kids.
Ambiguity. So, what we're going to do is use the Carnotaurus size at the beginning of the film.
I mean, with the definition of the Prey.
Despite this not being 100%.
I want to say something, pause the goddamn video.
You said I'm loud enough to be heard.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's still distracting the video.
You should fuck off.
It's still distracting now.
Come on. Hey, good night. He should be leaving.
Percent confirmed, and we'll just name it Diablo. Then use these purport not being 100% confirmed, and we'll just name it Diablo. Then this not being 100% confirmed, and we'll just name it Diablo.
Fucking really? Come on.
Then
what are you, Disney? Why is everyone obsessed with calling a female villain Satan? Like, God, we get it. He's a bad guy. We get it. If you've read about, he's kind of a bad dude. But do you have to name every villain off him? We get it. He's a bad guy. Can we please just get someone else? Please? Just saying, no. It's fucking annoying sometimes. Couldn't they named him, I don't know, horny, because he's horny. You know, he's horny! Get it? Because he has horns? Or, I don't know, cow and bow, I don't know, fucking anything. No.
Use these proportions to figure out the size of the smaller one. Using analysis of an accurate 3D reconstruction and reference points from the movies, and using this shot, we get an approximate measurement of 5.5 meters tall at the hip, 6.3 at the top of the head, and nearly 15 meters long. Using volumetrics, this animal at this scale could be anywhere from 16 to a whopping 22 tons. This absolute behemoth is approaching sauropod levels of size. Working our way down to the smaller companion Rojo, using selected clips, we can get a measurement of 4.2 meters tall at the top.
I don't know what Rojo means. I know what Arbor means, so if Rojo means something really offensive, I'm sorry. But don't blame me, blame Goju Central.
Top of the hip and total length at around 11.2 meters.
Now, I'm just gonna Google what Rojo means, because I really am afraid I'm saying something offensive. Okay, Rojo just means red in a different language, and also means some guy I don't know about. So, thank God, it's not like a dictator who kills thousands of people. That's what I was really worried about. It's just red. Which, to be honest, he's more pink than red, if you ask me.
Weight-wise, we could be looking at an animal that weighs 9 to 10 tons. Very similar to the estimated weights of some adult T-Rex specimens. After all, a skeleton presented at the attraction in the animal kingdom.
What the fuck? That must be its dick, right? Like, that has to be his dick. I'm not trying to sound weird, but that must be its dick, right?
Did use a big Tyrannosaurus Rex for a large chunk of the body with scaled-up Carnotaurus parts to match. Smaller Carno, aka Rojo. Height 4.2 meters at the hip, 4.8 meters at the head, length 11.2 meters, mass 9 to 10 tons. Big Carno, aka Diablo. Height.
This is why I got tired of Goju Sir. Have you ever heard of the series Turbo Mouse? It's a series that is all like Goju series. Dumb, but it tries to take itself so seriously and tries to be like, oh, don't laugh at us, we're serious, we're edgy, we're cool, and it's just like, oh god, we get it. You're so cool, and it's just annoying. Like,
oh, red 'cause blood and Satan and fire and ha ha ha, and Diablo 'cause Lucifer. Like, we get it. We get it. I'm fucking done with this edginess. Like, that's a problem. You know, I've seen all of dinosaur fans be so edgy, like, oh, dinosaurs isn't for kids. Well, you know what? Fucking sharks ain't for kids, but guess what? Kids like sharks. So, guess what? It is for kids, because it's an animal, and every person owns the right to an animal. But that's just me, in my opinion, not personally.
5.5 meters, 6.3 at the head, 14.6 meters long, weighing at 20 plus tons. But it's not just the size of these bruisers that is impressive. While they are noticeably slower than the real-life Carnotaurus on account of sheer mass, they do still have those proportionally long legs and the robust tail seen in the real thing to put them to use. A 2011 study by W. Scott Persons IV and Philip J. Curie showed that those thick tails and well-developed leg bones of the real-life Carno were well-designed for both high-speed running and maintaining a great sense of balance. The giant versions showed off similar skills even with all the weight slowing them down, chasing down prey in a sprint, and navigating steep inclines when climbing without the use of any forelimbs. They may not be as swift as their smaller kin, but they could definitely book it when they need to. Now, if these two are going to make it anywhere past the first big theropod thrown at them, they need to be able to bite back. Can they? Why, yes, of course! It just so happens that these jaws appear to be a rough halfway point between the real-life Carnotaurus and Tyrannosaurus rex. So, Carnotaurus and other abelisaurs had a very specific kind of jaw anatomy that was built to snap down quickly but also open very wide, while still having a good bite force of their own. T-Rex, meanwhile, had jaws to crunch and continue to apply pressure while getting a good grip. The Florida freaks are thus able to both crunch down hard enough to inflict nasty wounds even on reasonably large targets with a single well-placed bite. They may not be able to snap as fast as the real-life Carno or crunch as hard as a T-Rex, but if there were a set of jaws that were a jack of all trades, then it would be these. How much force? Let's just say enough to kill almost anything on St. Hubert. Using a formula devised by Dr. Sakamoto and co., we can determine these bruisers had a possible crunching force of 35,000 to 45,000 newtons for Rojo and 53 to 70,000 newtons for Diablo. And these are conservative numbers. Really, they could maybe be higher. A big misconception about bites in regards to combat, especially amongst big theropods, is that whoever has the strongest bite always wins. While there is a lot of weight behind this statement, would you believe that a ridiculously overpowered bite force isn't always a good indicator of who wins a fight? Sometimes even a fraction of max bite force can kill a rival. A lot of it comes down to who can bite first and land hits on target, more so than who bites harder, as we're going to find out soon. For additional assets, and ones that might be very useful here, are the robust heads and huge horns.
Try the fine nasal mist from Ultravit.
I have to admit, I am recording so I may not sound
you breathe
the best.
So I'm writing an essay on cats. Cats in art history. I'm an art history major, and
2018 studies by Raphael Delcourt speculated that abelisaurs, like Carnotaurus, were well suited to withstanding hits beyond just biting. When competing against rivals of their own kind, they might have been using these noggins in flank bashing and head-to-head shoving contests. The species is also heavily armored, more so than most predators. The belly isn't as reinforced, but the thick feature scales embedded across the sides and back can help deflect bites and claws. These plates could also be underneath the skin where you can't see them, making these two a lot more armored than they might seem at first. A perk of having all these spikes means that the tail is now sharp and serrated, adding even more force and damage when it's swung like a club, with enough strength to knock a multi-ton iguanodon around with a head thrash or swipe. Now, it's understandable it took a cave-in pounding involving hundreds of tons of rock falling down to kill one, and a plummet off of a cliff from unstable ground to take out the other. These two were actually pretty tough. So we are just about ready to send these two to the shores of St. Hubert, once our newly hired Dino Wrangler and channel member gets a hold of his bearings and, alright. There's a new job opening, folks, and here's how to enter. Coming up, the Carno duo enters. Job opening, folks, and here's how to enter. And Hubert.
Hey, James, you want to wrangle Carnotaurus by any chance?
Well, close your eyes. Have your hand up.
Wait, look down. You wanna?
Yeah.
Do you wanna wrangle Carnotaurus, my good boy?
Gets a hold of his bearings and...
Cause
Wow.
guess what, kids? There's a new job going up.
All right. There's a new job opening, folks, and
just for
here's
you,
how to
little boy.
enter.
He looks so goofy.
Yeah.
Those buck teeth. Is that gonna be?
Whoa, there! Yeah.
Is that gonna be scary?
Yeah.
SpongeBob buck teeth miss you looking at him?
I don't like this one thing about him. They made him have a skull pattern because that's creepy and scares humans.
That's enough.
The Carno
Like, oh, this guy, his name's Diablo because Satan's so cool, and the other guy's name's Doyle because red and fire and blood and Lucifer.
Give him a gift.
Just tired of this obsession with edginess. Okay. Oh, wait, what? What is this?
Switch remotes.
They don't look like Switch remotes.
They're like third party.
Oh!
NTT had some Switch remotes. You said your Joy-Cons weren't working.
Oh, that's nice of her. Oh, thank you, thank you, Auntie Christine, for giving me these, well, no thanks, but knockoff Switch remotes.
Well, you don't have to say that. Just say third party.
Third party.
Let's take a little look-see.
I'll be playing
the
them.
mini review. Let's get a quick review.
Well, I'll talk.
How do they look? How do they feel?
They feel not as good as the official. I feel a bit too clunky for my
in
hands.
comparison at how tiny they are in comparison?
Yeah, I prefer the tiny look over the big ones. But I really am grateful.
Check. Do you work on the Switch?
I'll put them in
Where's the
the
Switch right now?
Well, the Switch colors doesn't work, so.
Well, let's not see if it fits on the Switch.
Thank you. I just want to thank.
Looks fun.
Yeah.
I'm a bit thicker on the edges, which would be annoying.
I want to thank my auntie first. Really, thank you. But on the show, boys and girls.
Josh, don't be around it. That's what made you ever.
Duo enters St. Hubert.
I
Right
have
off.
to at least give my reason why I don't like them naming him Toro when. Alright.
But you love the nickname Toro.
I mean, no, Diablo. I love Toro. That's cool. But I was reading it. I was reading the name, and I was terrified. I was referencing like a dictator or someone because like I don't speak Spanish. But turns out it was just reading some random footballer I don't really care about. So, don't worry. I wasn't offending anyone. Well, except him.
As soon as they step foot on the shores of St. Hubert, the colossal Carnos might just find themselves up against the most dangerous carnivorous force on the island, something that might have felled almost any other newcomers migrating to the region. Spinosaurus, height 4 meters, length 12 meters, quantity 4, possibly more. The quartet of Spinos
Definitely more. I mean, it's a whole fucking island.
that patrol the ocean and the shores are certainly more aquatic than their prototype seen on Sorna, but they are still amphibious and capable of getting on land. Whether the Spinos are as aggressive towards other predators as their predecessor was remains to be seen. They did get along just fine with the local Mosasaurus, and they don't seem to be going out of their way to bully the T-Rex, but they still might be very territorial about the sudden arrival of two other massive predators on their beach. If a lone Carnotaurus robustus decided to stand and fight if a confrontation got physical, the journey into the island might
Gauge Center.
stop short.
This is literally merch of a Disney character. Yeah, I wasn't want to search up, but I'm just going to search up the story. Because I don't even know if the story's fake, so I want to know if the story's real. Before I show us, how far in 2016 knowing you had to avoid Freddy, Jeff the Killer Clowns, and Herobrine, just another day. Alright, now you can continue. So don't you say, this isn't a fuck you, this isn't I hate you, it's genuinely out of being a fan with concern. Also, fans, if you're wondering, you can use the sky on my chest because I'm gonna remove him when I get a new shirt, and I don't even know him. It was a free asset that I'm not gonna say stole, I just took because it's a free asset. So if you ever want to use this, just take it. I don't care. I love this guy. He will always be a part of my history, but just take him. I don't care.
Alright, calm down.
Okay, let's see.
Disney once almost sued this preschool for just having these characters painted on their walls. Basically, in 1989, Disney somehow discovered that 3 small daycare centers in Florida had murals of characters like Mickey Mouse and Goofy.
Oh no, that's where the carnotaurus is at. No, seriously, canonically, they're from Florida. So where were Florida dinos?
On their walls.
Florida,
The staff of these daycare centers had probably painted these characters to make their kids happier. But since Disney said that these characters belonged to them and
You know, the humanized version of what existed, they both just wear towels and nothing else. Right now.
were trademarked, they demanded that these 3 preschools take them down immediately. If they refused to, Disney literally threatened to sue them. So these 3 preschools, Very Important Babies Daycare, Good Godmother Daycare, and Temple Missiani had no choice but to follow Disney's instructions. However, little did these daycares know, they actually had a secret ally on their sides. You see, at the time, Disney had a ton of beef with their main competitor, Universal Studios. So when the story hit the news, Universal Studios immediately reached out to the 3 daycares, offering to not only help them remove the Disney paintings, but also to send in their own professional artists to paint in Universal Studio characters instead. This was done mainly out of spite and to make Disney look bad, but the children at the daycares were all really happy. So Disney once almost sued the-
I want to see what the art looks like. Professional artist? You gotta show me. Is it King Kong?
Okay, so Goji Sender, please don't think I'm saying fuck you. I'm saying you will get sued because that is a Disney character, and Disney don't like you using the characters. And if you're like, oh, Disney don't care about them anymore, in their 100th anniversary, the main character was Stellar, and both of Carnotauruses were in the background. So clearly, they care.
Oh, so it's Disney. They don't lose anything.
You know, even if it's something as a niche, you know...
They sued an AI... They tried to sue an AI company.
Which, I kind of have to agree on Disney, fuck those clankers. They usually would never agree, but, you know, yeah.
Even with size on their side, if this was Diablo in a 4v1, that might be too much even for the Juggernaut. Especially if the Spinos managed to force the battle into much deeper water. Enough for the Moza to take part and finish the deal. Now, these guys could most certainly swim, but they were dinosaurs that excelled in forests and deserts, and would be out of their element in the water. But in this scenario, we have 2 of them present, and even the mighty sailbacks would have to think twice if they try to bully 2 big ones. Even Rojo, the smallest of the 2, would likely still be heavier than any of them, and Diablo would be punching well above the individual Spino's weight class. In this early game stage, the Carno needs to settle. The Spino's food source is likely out in the water and shore rivers for fresh drinking water and shelter. Not quite the environment that Carnotaurus thrives in. A confrontation realistically wouldn't result in the annihilation of either squad. At most, a very injured Spino and the other 3 retreating, and the Carnos heading inland where they would normally thrive anyways. Their needs are very unalike, so any future confrontation would likely not happen, due to them partaking in 2 different predatory niches. The Carnotaurs continue inland where meat is more abundant.
Yeah, gotta be honest, yeah.
Moving for the spaces where the foliage has been beaten back by large herbivores, the duo runs into its very first and plentiful source of food, Titanosaurus, height 15 points.
I don't say it, but none of the Brachiosaurus scenes work for me, except this. Also, all I gotta say, fans, is if you think dinosaur names are dumb and we should stop adding a saur to them, you should maybe do it to all of them except Pachyosaurus. Don't remove the Asaurus.
Meters, 20.7 meters in length. Now, if the so-called genius expert, a certain pharmaceutical company hired as a guide, was correct, and these stupendous sauropods are merely 11 tons, all the pair need to do is run straight at them and bowl them over like a giant Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade balloon.
For over 100 years, Hotpoint has been trusted to keep family life running smoothly.
I wish Goji Sender would stop censoring themselves.
And everything in between, saving space and keeping your kitchen clutter-free. Hotpoint, the UK's most trusted.
I know I said they feel too edgy, but you know, I don't know what happened to the old Goji Sender. Well, you can't mount any red paint, you know.
Okay, in more seriousness, the sauropods we see on screen are much more akin to the colossal Argentinosaurus. A few shots make it where these things could look some kaiju in the eye, but going off the official listings of height and length, they would be more realistically around 130 tons. Now, assuming they aren't absolute jobbers like the long necks are 90% of the time in this franchise, this would be an obstacle for even these horrendous hornheads. A full-grown adult could easily bruise or break parts of their bodies with a neck or tail swipe, and trampling would flatten them like a bloody pancake. But Carnotaurus in the real world did have the equipment to dispatch big game, and the ferocious Floridians aren't lacking in that department either. And, most importantly, the duo aren't recklessly stupid. They would be aware how dangerous an adult sauropod can be and wouldn't just blindly attack. With how many titanosaurs there are and how few big predators there are to cut down their numbers, there is bound to be some juveniles, injured, or sick individuals to be priority targets. And considering an apparently miraculously time-traveling Brachiosaurus in their own movie was fearful of the species, they may not be unaccustomed to hunting sauropods. So they would know to go for the weaker members of the herd and attack after dark when they have the advantage of night vision. With repeated hit-and-run attacks at night,
Kinda like Hulk OG Center Edgy, but it just weird seeing the
herd and
character
attack
removed.
after dark when they have the advantage of night vision. With repeated hit-and-run attacks at night, as well as the two of them working together, they might well be capable of felling this kind of big game better than most carnivores on the island. Only the healthier adults would be too much for them. In truth, the two's journey might just stop here. They would have little other reason to keep traveling unless hurt by one of the adult titanosaurs, or just exploring to check out new territories. They might wind up carving a niche completely to themselves with very little competition given how massive the herds are. But just for the sake of it, let's say they did travel across more of the island or took an alternative route to get to the titanosaur grounds, such as the forested highlands. The denser forests neighboring the highlands of the island wouldn't exactly be the ideal territory, and the Carnotaurus duo would probably go in just to pass through. The denser timbers would restrict their movements, and there doesn't seem to be much big game here that would be enticing to them. But there is the question of carnivores from above and from the shrubs. Velociraptor, height 1.6 meters, length 3.9 meters. Mutadon, 1.8 to 2.1 meters tall, 4.8 meters long. And the big pterosaur, Quetzalcoatlus, height 4.9 meters, 11.9 meter wingspan. Raptor pairs, Mutadon gangs, and Quetzalcoatlus soaring above might all be noticed, but they wouldn't be much of a threat. Unless any of them decided to have more gumption than common sense, attacking even just one Carnotaurus alone would likely be suicidal, even with the advantage of cover. These two have armored hides that would deflect most of the damage any claws or beaks could do. It would take weapons from a much higher weight class to do damage to them. By contrast, just a simple head bash, tail swipe, or snap from the Carnotaurus would be debilitating,
Yeah,
not outright lethal to
pretty
any of
fucked.
these predators, no matter how much agility they have. If a serious fight broke out, they would take a hit eventually. Outside of mobbing the pair and trying to encourage them to leave, there's not much anything the local predators can do. Still, with the unfavorable terrain and lack of game, the horned horrors have no reason to stay there. Heading for the marshes and riverways, however, might just change both of those variables. The Central River cutting through parts of the island would be much more agreeable terrain to travel through, and potentially appealing prey can be found. Big herbivores such as Parasaurolophus, Ankylosaurus, and perhaps some ceratopsians could be found here and hunted down with no issues by the Carno Bros working together.
Kinda bros, you know what I'm saying?
So, statements have been circling around about these two being a pair of mates. So we did some digging and found that in the novelization, both Carnotaurs are referred to with male pronouns. Whether they were siblings or just hunting buddies, that's still unconfirmed. And if there was any doubt that the first Carno scene in the film wasn't male, the CGI production team referred to it also with male pronouns.
First of all, they say they may have been lovers, but then you say they weren't because they're both male? Well, who knows? Maybe they were gay. You know what? Yeah, Carnotauruses are the best gay Disney characters of them all. You know, greatest gay ship of all time, huh? Except the two characters from Turbo Mouse. I'm joking, but this is a better gay ship.
Back to what we were saying, since these two are working as a team equipped with the best weapons available, even the best armored herbivores might find themselves outclassed by an exceptionally large pair of quick and nimble megatheropods. But not all meat is retrieved by killing another dinosaur. Sometimes all it takes is running into a carcass where all the hard work has already been done for you. In this scenario, Rojo picks up the scent of a carcass along the river. As he approaches, his booming footsteps catch the attention of their first real challenge. Ember, Tyrannosaurus Rex, 4.6 meters tall, 12.5 meters in length. Possibly one of the biggest and most powerful Tyrannosaurus seen yet in the franchise.
I don't say it, but I'm really glad Blue did not appear in the movie. Everyone was like, oh no, is Blue and Rexy gonna die? And I'm glad they didn't appear in the movie. I admitted I didn't want to see them, and I'm glad they didn't appear in the movie, personally.
This Goliath, nicknamed Ember, would be capable of standing up to the Carnotaurus on land with even terms better than the Spinosaurus could. Size-wise, Ember is either slightly larger or about the same size as Rojo. Unless either of the two could ambush the other in their element, the Carnotaurus being quicker on land, but Ember being more adept in the water, this would be a pretty close contest. If Ember is just as aggressive as Rexy and pushes for a fight, they might soon find themselves in the fight of their life against a rival predator that could easily be
Still think, my God, you're making Disney merch.
just as lethal to them as the other way around. Both of their species have survived some horrific abuse, and without plot armor warping physics, either of these two are on such equal footing it would turn into a slugfest. The commotion of splashing water and moving trees would be something hard to miss by any nearby dinosaur. And in the event that the slightly less heavy Rojo gets into trouble, Diablo enters the arena. That's right, folks. Big Carno has entered the chat, and things don't look good for Ember, who now has another 20 tons stacked against him.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, what are you doing? Your boyfriend is in danger, huh?
You're not ready for it.
Ember is a Tyrannosaurus, and if a Tyrannosaurus is anything in this franchise, they are scrappy and will stand their ground if they have to, even against larger opponents. But outside of ideal circumstances, this just isn't a fight Ember could easily win if they went up against Diablo, and they flat out couldn't win if it was a 2v1. The best option would be a standoff, and then the Tyrannosaur retreating into the deeper waters while putting up as much as they can to discourage being attacked. If a fight did break out, Ember would absolutely go out swinging. But crazy Floridians are used to messing with big reptiles in swamps. Numbers and pounds win the day, and T-Rex is presented with a choice. Live to hunt another day, or die. Things seem favorable so far in St. Hubert for Rojo and Diablo. However, if the Carno tag team continued traveling across the island, it would be perhaps inevitable that they would stumble across the ruins of the humans that warped this island beyond recognition, and the colossal carnivore that drove them out. Given that the Carnotaurus have never encountered anything like human structures before, the sight and smell of them might be uncanny enough to keep them away out of sheer confusion. But if they did inevitably wander into the open ground of the old laboratories and worker villages, it would also be inevitable that they would run into the apex of the island. Distortus Rex, height 8.1 meters, length 14.5 meters.
I really am glad to get into a T-Rex. He's a monster, but he also is a force of nature, like Rexy, so I'm glad they didn't kill him, showing something can look monstrous, but it's a force of nature. And as this one said, you kill a butterfly, you're a monster. You kill a mosquito, you're a hero. So, if I kill Rexy, I'm a monster. But if I kill the T-Rex, I'm a hero. The truth is, empathy is all based off beauty. We try to pretend we're better, but we're all still just monsters, like the rest of the monsters we watch.
Considering the high level of aggression and potentially violent curiosity Distortus has upon seeing anything unusual, a confrontation would certainly break out. Only, unlike any other matchup against any other big carnivore in the franchise, this would be a clash where the Distortus would find itself up against another meat eater virtually in the same weight class, and then some. A collision course of titans might shake the island if Diablo and Distortus charged into one another and came to blows. The ferocious Floridian definitely has the speed and agility advantage, with a potentially more armored hide and a bite more adept at slicing. The deformed king has a keen advantage in dexterity and grappling ability, with a bite more oriented at crushing. The shredding chomp of the Carno would be ideal at causing large lacerations on the big but relatively lightly armored Distortus, whereas the crushing bite of the Distortus would be able to cause damage even through that thick armor of its opponent. A full body charge by Diablo might be enough to topple even the Distortus, at the risk of getting grappled. Meanwhile, the Distortus might have the strength to capitalize off that grapple, but wrestling an opponent of equal weight might unbalance the misshapen Goliath. This fight could potentially go either way, and might also be a face-off worthy of a video as well. But having Rojo there to tilt the odds, the chances swing back into Diablo's favor.
Yeah, I mean, you
On
have
a smaller
two of them,
tag team
remember?
partner, Diablo can land large body blows or take time to aim more critical bites, whereas Rojo can distract and damage the Distortus if it manages to topple or grapple its bigger ally by going for the legs or flanks. If the fight came to blows, it would be a ferocious altercation, and the Carnotaurs might lose a member, bringing down the beastly behemoth if they're not careful. But if any predators could pull it off, they could. More likely than not, however, even the Distortus might decide this fight is not worth it and avoid escalating the battle past the initial skirmish. With the power and teamwork to go the distance even against rivals like these, the gruesome...
It really does show, fans. Don't be alone. You know, if you have a friend willing to help you, you should take it. You're not going to live in this cruel world alone. You need someone to help you, someone you can bounce off of. But don't betray your friends. You know, all you have is your friends and family. That's why sometimes recording these videos makes me feel a little upset. It's sad being alone, you know, it's sad being alone always. I know how James feels when he doesn't want to record Jam videos. It's sad being alone, you know what I mean?
Gruesome from the Sunshine State have what it takes to survive.
That's
this
why me and
monstrous
James love
island.
Teach Bros.
And if they
can
play
be
their
together,
cards
huh?
right, the nightmares of a bygone era...
You don't know what it's like, but it gets quite lonely sometimes.
The nightmares of a bygone era might find themselves the new lords of a modern domain. And if you want to see some of this crazy Florida dino up close and personal, be sure to check out Animal Kingdom's Countdown to Extinction ride as soon as you can. Theme park renovations will be happening soon, and this attraction with its iconic museum, statues, and ride is going to be replaced. It seems like the Countdown to Extinction is finally going to be hitting 0 soon. And while you're waiting in line to be terrorized by Dinosaur Florida Man, be sure to subscribe and check out more on the channel, because we haven't seen the last of these cantankerous carnivores here yet. They might have survived St. Hubert, but other challenges from other possibly even more nightmarish islands still await.
Look, I'm not gonna say because I've said a lot, but all I'm saying is, I think you're personally gonna get sued. I'm not saying don't make videos on the character. I'm saying stop making merch off the character because you're gonna get sued. This isn't a fuck you Goji Sir. This isn't how you hate you Goji Sir. I love Goji Center. I'm saying this out of respect. Okay, bye guys.